This is the BrainChip Podcast. Hear from our thought leaders about neuromorphic computing, beneficial AI, and how BrainChip's Akita is pushing AI to the edge. This podcast is a place for investors, practitioners, and anyone interested in the future of AI.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Hehir. I'm the Chief Executive Officer here at BrainChip. Today, I borrowed the hosting duties from Rob Tellison to host a very special guest here on our podcast. His name is Jean-Luc Chatelain from Accenture. For those not familiar with Accenture, the world's leading consulting and system integration firm that services most of the Fortune 500 with a global presence around the world. Jean-Luc is the Managing Director, CTO AI. He is a thought leader well-recognized around the world on all things data, information, and AI, a well-sought-after speaker, an ex-colleague of mine, and most importantly, someone I can call a very close friend. Welcome to the podcast, Jean-Luc.
Thank you, Sean. It has been a while since we see each other live.
Well, why don't you start by taking a moment to position Accenture for the viewers who may not be familiar with your firm and a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So as you mentioned, we are the largest system integrator out there. We are now over 700,000 people strong, which is the size of a small city. And we focus on helping our customers through their digital transformation journey. Of course, they are not all at the same stage. Some are beginning, some are in the middle of it, some are tuning it. But that's what we do. We really help people harness the best that technology can give in order to transform their business and to make them more efficient. We like to say, and it's very true, that we love to find net new value in our customers' business, right? So it's all about, what else can I do to, of course, keep the customer I have happy, but also capture new customers, right? But all of that, not by selling technology for technology, but really selling technology for value. And AI is a great example of the type of things that we do. As far as the AI is concerned, we are a group of about 25,000 people. Now, an extended network is much bigger than that. Within Accenture, it's probably around 60 to 80,000 people that we can draw upon, because not everything in AI is about an algorithm. There's all the change management associated with AI, of course. But that's about the size of our group. And really, we do three things in AI. We do the classic, I would say, advanced analytic type of work, right? The more modern type of algorithmic approach that AI has brought to light. And we do a lot of automation also. So all of that is under that umbrella. And the blood of AI is data. So of course, we do a lot of work around data. And we in fact have a sister group that they're focusing is dealing with data in order to make sure AI is going to do the right thing.
That's awesome.
And the last thing I want to say, from a customer point of view, we serve the Global 2000. This is really where we are focused. And we do that with a very strong industry angle, meaning that we are very proud of the fact that we serve about 20 large industry, and we have groups that are really understanding the business of our customers. And that's how you do good business, is when you understand your customer's business and you can really empathize with their challenge and help them get you where you want to go.
That's great. That's great. With that kind of customer base, we know that the requirements and the demands are very high and very, very unrelenting. So we know the quality of work that Accenture does to meet that customer base. Well, having said that, share a little bit about your current thinking and your view about AI in general, the state of AI.
Well, AI is finally out of 2, if not 3, dreadful winters. I would say that started many, many moons ago. I think when I got out of school, AI was existing, but it was just very, very hard to do. But now it has come out to play for real, I would say, in business. Starting about 5 years ago, really, where we were able to find application of AI that were what I'm calling pragmatic AI. Right? This was not about thought maybe the sexy or the fluff side of AI, or I can find cats on YouTube and all that kind of stuff, but more about how can I use the various techniques that AI has in its toolbox, really to transform the business with things that are very tangible, right? Now, I sometimes use the example of the chatbot. Chatbots have been around for a long, long time. I think in our common days at HP, I think we've met a few of those chatbots, but they tended to be very dumb to a certain extent, right? You would type something behind the scene, the system will try to find a few words that were in a pilot document and give whatever it could call an answer, but really was not understanding what was your intent in your question and what was the right thing to answer. But today, chatbots are, I'm not going to say they are not human-like yet, but they're getting there. And really, it's a pleasant experience as opposed to something that you knew you were not going to get an answer anyway. So you just were going through the motion. So that's what I call pragmatic AI. Right? And there's other examples, hyper-personalization, for example, which is also very important in today's market, is there. So we're in an era of pragmatic AI. We're in an era where we see every day, significant improvement that can really be used by our client in those digital transformation that I spoke about.
How about some comments about the state of edge AI, where BrainChip really is focused on? What's going on from your point of view on edge AI?
Well, I think you're in the right place, right? Because edge AI is now sort of emerging from the darkness, right? And starting to be used in some very specific domain. It's not yet everywhere, but it certainly is getting some action today. And it's where probably in the long term, most of the AI will sit, in fact. A lot of people are thinking AI demands, massive infrastructure behind the scene, which is not untrue. I mean, there are still some aspects of AI that are very demanding in terms of computing power. And will require the customers, through their partners like cloud providers or others who have significant infrastructure to address the problem. But thanks to the progress that are being made on the silicon side, and I'm not, I know there's other semiconductor you can use, but just generic term silicon. The progress that's being done on the silicon side is now allowing AI to move to the edge. Right? There are still constraints on the edge, such as power in general is always a challenge, and space in terms of the real estate that you have available. However, I think companies like yours are really taking that into account, or taking that to heart, and are bringing the power of AI with a full understanding of those constraints. Right? If you put something in a satellite, right, for example, you got to make sure that you know every picoamperes that you got to be using, because it's limited. So edge AI certainly a very exciting domain, and 2023, 2024 is going to be really the time where we're going to see a lot more of it. I mean, there are, of course, you're already successful, others are already successful there, but I think that's where we're going to see an acceleration of the deployment of those technology on the edge.
That's great. That's great. And it's certainly consistent with our interactions with our customers. 23 and 24, the interest level is very, very high right now. But it's also, what your comments were a great setup for the next question I was going to ask you, because we talked about the power element of the edge. What's your thoughts on neuromorphic, which of course that's the basis of our technology? How do you see neuromorphic? What do you see in the future? Do you see the direction for a lot of AI being neuromorphic?
Yes, and the reason is the approach of neuromorphic AI is not to try to bend the business of AI to what the classic techniques are doing. I never believe you should try to mold your customer around the technology you have, but try to have a technology that can embrace the needs of the customer. In this case, when we talk about AI, we're talking about some form of emulation or aspiring to emulate how the human brain is functioning. And a lot of these exercises trying to build digital human brain have been done for at least 10 years, but they were all about trying to see how they can make almost a mirror copy of it, rather than, which is kind of an engineering approach, right? I'm going to break down how the brain functions. I'm going to try to rebuild the pieces that makes the brain, namely the neuron, the neuron, of course. But these techniques have proven to be unsuccessful and not scalable, which is really important. And that to me was trying to make sure that you could, make literally a computer version of your brain. But I don't think that's what Neuromorphic is doing. I like, the effort that I see in the neuromorphic world is to understand how the brain functions, right? So take it with a cognitive view of the world, and then mold the silicon or mold the techniques you're going to be using to then, not mirror copy the brain, but try to achieve the same goal that the brain is using when they make a decision process. So I'm a big believer that neuromorphic technology in general is going to be a significant part of the future of AI.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that, because that's exactly how we view it. We certainly are not trying to copy the brain. And usually when I run into people who don't understand our technology well, they'll think about it. But what we do is obviously we take the best parts of the brain, which is a very efficient computation machine, if you will, and use that. And so that's all we're simply doing, inspired by the brain, taking those principles to get a lot more done, break through the von Neumann bottleneck, and just get things done with less power. It's just that simple, and allow you to apply that for the use cases you're doing, not mimic the brain, but use the principles of the brain. So agree 100% with that. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about what's going on with models. I know you think a lot about that. What do you think about what's going on with the latest trends on models? What's new with transformers? Give us a couple of comments about that kind of stuff.
Well, yes, it's a very interesting domain we're in. For full disclosure, I'm a big fan of Dr. Chris Ray at Stanford, which to me is really as good as one of the best vision of the evolution of AI today, the elimination of what we call modalities. So in the world of AI, it's very tempting for data scientists to create model for everything. Every problem they have, they want to create a model for, right? And there's also a lot of duplication, because there's not enough sharing happening in this domain, but that's another subject. But there's modality. We create way too many models in our industry. And these models they're all highly tuned to a very specific use case scenario. But this is dramatically changing. There has been an emergence of new techniques and models that are called transformers. Of course, we call them supermodels, right? We're engineers, so we're going to have some form of humor. And the supermodels, they're just better, at doing the work than a bunch of little ones that are bespoke. But they're very function defined, or no, to better say, they're very focused on the type of information you're processing. So we see a lot of transformer activity in the text space, because the first barrier to break down has been natural language processing. And that's where transformers have made literally significant progress. I think if I quote Dr. Ray, Google Translate by itself was 500,000 lines of code, 5 years ago, and today it's 500 lines of code by using a transformer. So those transformers, as I said, born in the text space, you will hear names like GPT-3, which is very popular around here. And what these supermodels do, they have the capability to understand pretty much everything in their domain, and they just need to be tuned when there is specificity. So say we could say they speak English, they all speak very well English, right? But you can tune them for maybe an industry that is a specific dialect, right? And that's all you have to do. Once you tune it for that dialect, right, it will understand all that it is about interpreting text in that industry. We see that happening in video now also, and in voice. So the future is less model, that are bespoke, more transformers, and then a shift in the personality of the data scientist that is going to be using AI. Instead of, and I've used that example a lot of time, instead of being people you picture as a white lab code on a blackboard writing mathematical formula, data scientists will wear a harder hat if they're into the oil and gas industry, meaning they will be very, very industry savvy, and they'll be able to tune these transformers, right, and select the right data in order to solve the problem in their industry. And we're going to see that across, of course, all industry. And so there'll be a shift in the profile of the data scientists. And also, and we're seeing it today, because data is the fuel for AI, we'll see an emergence of massive number of data engineers, people that can prep data, right, in order to have it ready to be fed to the transformers to then solve the problem of the given client. It's a fascinating domain, and in full evolution. And I think we're still at the beginning. So more innovation is going to happen as the days are going by.
That's great. We might have to come back and talk about that at a later day. Well, let's get ready for a close, but I want to ask you, because I know you usually put out a prediction for the year. I don't know if you've done 23 yet, but I would love to hear a little bit of thoughts. You have anything you want to give us a quick prediction, or one or two?
I'll give you maybe one or two. I have to write 20, and I'm not there yet. But on the side of data, right, which I really want to send the message that if you don't have good data, you will not get good AI. This is just reality, right? And unfortunately, a lot of our clients, or all clients in general, not just ours, their number one problem is their data, right? And that's just because of the immersion, the years of systems of record that are different, legacy essentially, that are creating massive amount of data silos. So there is an approach to managing data, which is a strategy and no longer a technology, which is very, very important, which is the data mesh. And data mesh is a way you can break down the information silos that you have into your enterprise in a way that does not remove ownership of the owners of the silos, because they're business owners, so they understand, their application, but make that data available to whomever needs it within the enterprise itself. So the data mesh strategy, again, I can't say it enough to our customers, is not a technology. Technology is a supporting instrument. A data mesh strategy supported with things called data product and metadata stores, right, and governance is already has started, but is really going to catch on fire in 23, 24, and 25, because we have to break down the silos. And when we break down the silos, then we really enable AI in human knowledge in something that isn't just enabled by computers. Knowledge graph are absolutely necessary in every single type of business application in today's world. And we see that 5 years ago, they said that every application would have not just the database, and the UI, but the database and the knowledge graph and the UI is proven true. I can see knowledge graph being deployed everywhere. So that's my prediction here. It's going to keep on going.
That's great. Well,
I promise I'll find some more for the other 18 I'm missing. But
well, I'll help you if you want, but I'm sure you will, and we'll look forward to hearing about the rest of them or reading about them like I normally do. With that, let's go ahead and close off our podcast. I want to thank you very, very much for your time today, Jean-Luc. It was a pleasure to have
You're
you.
welcome, buddy.
It's always great to talk with you. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the BrainChip podcast. Please remember to rate and review on your favorite podcast platform.